I call this a better way to teach our kids in the classroom. Now, I've been preaching this for about 20 years, and it goes something like this. We teach our kids the same way that Socrates taught. And Socrates lived a long time ago, and a lot of stuff has happened since Socrates, but yet we still teach exactly the same way, which is this. One person stands in front of a group of 20, 25, 30 kids and delivers whatever kind of message, which is the lesson of the day. Then that person gives out homework and tells them what to read in a book. And then a week later, there's a test. Some kids get an A, some kids get a C, some kids fail. Now, what happens when you put someone in the front of a class to teach a group? You create a bell curve. What's the problem with the bell curve? You have 25 kids in a class, and some of them are going to live all the way over here. And these are the really smart ones. And then some of them are way over here. And those are the ones that they need help. They're going to struggle. And the rest of them live anywhere around this bell curve. And what is the teacher to do? The teacher is going to aim right down Broadway in the middle of the bell curve because he or she has got to reach the most amount of kids that they can possibly reach. So I know some of you right now are saying, Roy, we already have classes for the really smart kids, and we already have classes for the kids that need extra help. No. It doesn't work that way because you could take the smartest kids in the school, take them all, 20 of them, 30 of them, put them together in a group, and guess what you're going to do? You're going to create a bell curve based upon smart kids. So over here, we're going to have the really smart kids, and over here, we're going to have the really smart kids that aren't as smart as the really smart kids, and you're still going to create a bell curve. Now, how are we going to get around this? It's easy. IEPs. The only way you're going to get rid of a bell curve is to have one-on-one instruction. Then there is no bell. It's you and the person. So, how do we do that? Well, we all have these, and we all have iPads, we all have computers, and some of you are saying, all right, maybe the poorer neighborhoods don't have these. Look, I know drug dealers that have these, okay? So we can get around the part where the money comes in, but let's just for a minute assume that we all can get access to the internet, which isn't a far-fetched idea today. So let's do the first grade because it's easier to comprehend. Now, let's assume that the kids coming into the first grade don't know anything. And I know some of you put your kids in Montessori school, or some of them are learning to read in kindergarten or whatever. But for this exercise, all the kids are the same. They don't know anything. The first problem on the board is 1 + 1 equals, I don't even know if I know that. Anyway, most of the kids in the class, 80% of the kids, are going to get 2, maybe 90%. But then there's going to be those other kids that really don't get it. The ones that got 1 + 1 equals 2 go on to the next problem, which is 2 + 2 equals blank. But the ones that didn't get it, the program will already understand, maybe I have to start to deliver this information to these kids in a different way. So instead of 1 + 1 equals 2, why don't we try something more visual, like Mary has 1 apple, and Johnny gives her another apple. How many apples does Mary have? Now, if your kid answers 2, maybe they're more visual. So the next time the problem comes up, even though the other kids got 2 + 2 equals 4, your kid is going to get, if Mary has 2 apples and Ellen gave her another 2 apples, how many apples does Mary have? This is great, isn't it? Because now we can understand that these kids maybe are more visual. And guess what? Pre-assumptions go away. Because if the teacher at the front of the class immediately thinks, oh, these are slower kids, maybe they're not. Maybe there's a cognitive disorder. Maybe they have dyslexia. Maybe they have something else that the computer can quickly identify. And by the way, maybe if we present these problems more visually, then your kid can go further than the other kids. And maybe they accelerate faster because it's coming at them in a visual sense. And they're going to go beyond the kids that are looking at it from a text-based standpoint because they are really smarter than those kids. But at the same time, they need to see things in a visual sense. It could be colors, it could be anything. It's just understanding how your kid can consume the information. That's the most important thing. Now, that brings us to grades. Grades. I'm in the 4th grade. That's ridiculous. Are you kidding me? So that means that even though we know this bell curve exists, and even though we know that there's kids on the one side of the spectrum that are really, really smart, and the ones on this other side of the spectrum that really need help, no matter what the bell curve is, we're going to move them along in a unit, because that's official. It's ridiculous. You get to move on when you have mastery level of the thing that you're studying, or at least passable from the thing that you're studying. So, in other words, if we all start out together in the first grade, like I've described, and certain kids take off, boom, they should be allowed to excel as fast as they possibly can without being held back by the teacher who has got to hold them back because he or she has got to make sure that the rest of the class gets it. And conversely, the people that are on the other end of the spectrum who are struggling so bad, they're not just being pushed along because, come on, we got to keep going, we got to keep going. That's dumb. That's a really crazy way to teach, okay? So in this scenario, everybody's moving at their own pace and will arrive at the finish line at different times as they do in life. Okay, so in this case, you may say to yourself, well, hey, that means that some kids might actually graduate high school at 13 or 14 years old. Yes, just like life. Of course they're gonna. Some kids are really smart and they should go on. They should go on to college. Now, these concepts that I'm showing you right now, they're not just for the first or second or third grade. Although they work wonderfully during those years, it also is for higher education. Harvard University teaches their students in their law school exactly the same way. One professor walks in and there's a bunch of people sitting in the room, and they have to quickly take the information in however the teacher decides to give it to them. Now, here's an extra bonus. Your teacher, whichever one you want to remember, the best one or the not so best one, went to school and went to a university, let's say Penn State or Syracuse or University of Rhode Island or wherever they went, and they got a teaching degree. Now they're teaching your kid. Let's use astronomy as the example. Now, let's say the astronomy book is written by Neil deGrasse Tyson, who we all know is a genius. Now, what would be better? To learn astronomy from the teacher who got the degree from Penn State, or to learn astronomy from Neil deGrasse Tyson? No brainer, right? So that's what I'm saying, is that teaching kids today can be directly from the authority, not the middleman who's going to tell you about the authority. It could be so much more information coming at you. Now, there are wonderful teachers, and please don't misconstrue this as me saying, let's get rid of teachers, because you need teachers. And I personally have learned a lot from teachers, and not only in a classroom, but out in the world. But things are changing, and things will change. In other words, the role of the person that stands in front has got to change so every kid has the same opportunity. What I'm saying to you is the kids in the poorest neighborhoods in the South Bronx or in Chicago or wherever they're from will have the same opportunity as the best private schools that you could get here in the U.S. because the information is coming to them the same and they are accelerating at their pace. And that's the beautiful thing. Look, I understand. If a 7-year-old comes up to me right now and I say, hey, Johnny, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they say, I want to be a truck driver. I'm going to go, maybe you ought to rethink that, Johnny, because I'm pretty sure trucks are going to be driving themselves before too long. And we can all see that. Cars are driving themselves. Trucks are driving themselves. It's a matter of time before that goes away. And yes, of course, people will be upset because jobs will go away. And when I say this to you now, I know teachers' unions don't want to hear what I'm saying because maybe it means jobs. But what I'm saying to you is it probably means some jobs go away and new jobs come in. My business, for instance, I'm in the entertainment business, and not 20 years ago, we had a job called the film loader. Now, the film loader would come in after they shot a reel of film, and they would say, cut, and that person would take that film off the camera and put the new film on so they could shoot the next 11 minutes of that film. Now, that job is gone. But it was replaced with another job called the data wrangler. And the data wrangler comes in and takes a hard drive off and puts a new hard drive on and backs up that data, and that's what they do. Now, is it the same person? Probably not. Maybe a small percentage it is the same person. But what I'm saying to you is old jobs go away, new jobs come in. So in closing, I do love spirited debate. And I love people that want to debate things back and forth. What I don't like is mean-spirited stuff. I see it all the time now with this political climate that we live in, and it's just disconcerting. When you come to the table and you have a disagreement with somebody, whether it's philosophically or socially or whatever it is, don't come at it in a negative standpoint. Come at it like, here's a better idea, or here's what I think is a better idea, and pose something that's positive. Now, you may still not convince the other side of what you're saying, but at least you're not saying, you mother, you know what I'm saying. And I see it all the time. So, yes, disagree, protest, speak up. But you know what? At the end of the day, love one another. And that's it. Bye.